Okay, in this video I'm going to show you how to replace Ford Model A the tail light sockets, so not just the light bulbs. So real quick, this is a 30-31 style tail light, and so the top light is the brake, bottom light is running light. You can tell the running light because this clear glass in the bottom, when your headlights are on, your running lights are on, this shines on the license plate that's below here. Mine is not in good shape, so you can look at, first of all, like this bulb is broke off in here and I can't get the socket out. I can tell visually looking at it, they're rusted. This one I can, well, I think I can get the bulb out without breaking it. But you can see over the years, that socket's pretty beat up. It's not in good shape. And if you look at that connection, I don't know if you can look at that's not a good connection. This should pop in, it's got a little spring in there, but it's in bad shape. So I'm gonna replace, these are pretty easy. You can get all these parts. And this is what the outside looks like. So you got the tail light has this outside, and the lens, I suggest getting an all red lens because when your brake light is on up here, I think original Ford Model A's, this was an amber color up here and red down here. But to make sure people behind you that don't know about old cars, they see a red light come on, they'll know it's your brake light. And this has a gasket in here, so if you were to pop that out, it has a gasket, and also it's got this metal ring. So the metal ring is designed to basically, when you put your lens in, this metal ring pops in here and holds the lens in place against this outer piece for your taillight. And here's the gasket. Let's go ahead and start. I'll show you the parts I have that I'm going to use to replace this. All these replacement parts for a Ford Model A, electrical sockets, wires, you can get these at any of the Model A distributors, suppliers. There's many of them you can find online. So let's go over the wires real quick. So your taillights have a green and black wire. So the taillights, the wires will look like this with this connection. Oh, I lost my spring. Let's look at this one. They'll have this flat connection and also this spring. So you're going to want this spring on there. I lost my other spring. I got to find it. And the way and these are your sockets. So your taillight sockets, they look kind of like the headlight sockets with that little L shape because you push the bulb in and twist it. And let's look at a bulb. So the tail lights have a little bit different connection from the headlights. You don't see like two dots. You see this like just single connection here in the back. And like the other Model A bulbs in the headlights, you see these little protrusions here, these little metal things that stick out. What that does is in the socket, when you have the spring in here, you push in. Oh, there's a spring in there. All right, so hold on. Sorry folks, I had it together and then I took it apart. The idea is you push it in and turn it, and you see when you turn it, that locks it, and to take it out, you turn it counterclockwise and the bulb slides out. So that's pretty easy. It's worth noting for the taillight, there's two types of lights. You got your brake light, which is bigger, and your running light, which is smaller. They look about, I want to say this is, they're about the same diameter. This one might be a little bit more, but you can see the size difference where the little one is your running light, the big one here is your brake light. So let's real quick show you how you'd wire this up. So you take your green and your blue wires the same direction. So what you do is you take your socket and you want this springy part to be in the socket. So what you do is you start it on this end and you just go all the way through, and you want the socket facing where it'll receive the bulb. So as it comes in, you see that spring right there, and that little plate, that little plastic round piece, and then the end. Now if you, so There it is. It's a bit springy. That's fine. If you might be able to adjust the spring with a pair of pliers if you need more or less spring. And then to test it, these are the same sockets, I think, for both the brake light and the tail light. So either one you could test. I'll test with the brake light. So to test it, you just pretend, I gotta put this in the plate, right? So what you do is you just push this in like it was on your car. Alright, maybe a little, alright, push it in, and see, it's in there. And the spring is providing pressure to keep it connected here. And it's not rusty, it's clean, all new, so I should have nice good connections here. And to get it out, you just again push in slightly against the spring and turn counterclockwise. And it turns out, see, just as easy as that. In, out. Okay, next step, let's go ahead and put these sockets in on the mounting plate and get them connected. Okay, I took the taillight out, the driver's side taillight, and it's a mess. So it had these wires spliced like twice. It's not the green and black connections. You can see one socket here has kind of just, I don't know, like broke off over the years. And it's got some, somebody tied, like twisted some wire strands there. This is the other socket. This, I don't know, maybe the original socket. It looks, but it's very, it's almost fused in there. It's like rusted, whereas the taillight here is stainless steel. So I'm going to have to do a bit of work. I'm not going to video this. It could take a while, but, and you can look in there, the old socket that's bent up. It does have, so if we look at that, you can see it's got the spring in place, but like, can you see what someone did there? Like, yeah, this is just a mess. I don't know who put this together. And look, another. So, and this one, I don't know how I'm gonna get that out of there. But anyway, I'm gonna play around. Probably have to use some heat, use some pressure, solvent, spray some solvent. I'm gonna try different things. I mean, worst case scenario is, I don't know if I don't want to damage this, but I got to buy a new taillight fixture here if I have to. I don't want to do that, but I'm going to try to get these out because what I'm going to have to do is press the new, here, if I do this right, I'm going to put a new socket in there and press it in with a new wire on the back. So, wish me luck on that. We'll pick up after I make progress. Alright, let me show you how I'm getting these sockets out of the taillight housing here. First thing, you definitely want to remove this glass piece because, at least in my taillight, it was very close to the socket and I didn't want to break it, although it's probably pretty cheap to get a replacement. And I tried first using these needle nose pliers, like medium size, and what I did was I was trying to like grab this and twist it, and it wasn't working very well. And I did soak, I have solvent on here, so on both sides I sprayed solvent. But what I ended up doing, at least I'm doing it on the brake light, and the running lights will probably be the same, use a punch. So I happen to have this brass punch. I don't even know where I got it, but it's pretty big diameter, so a big round piece of metal or stock metal, a punch, and I just put it on top of the socket and hammered it on the top, and it's pushing it out. I don't have a great selection of punches. I got this is the other biggest one I have, and I could probably get it out with this. I'll see, I may try that on this side, but you can see as I hammer this with a punch, I'm holding the camera with one hand. If you flip the other side, you can see it's starting to come out. So that clear, that shiny piece of metal next to all the rest, that's me pushing out the socket with a punch. So I'm pretty hopeful I'll get them out with a punch, and then we'll move on to the next step. Yeah, just to confirm, big punch is the way to go to get them out. I measured this, it looks like it's 5/8 diameter, And you can see I got one socket out, and I'm getting this one out. This one I really didn't think was even going to come out. And you don't need a big hammer to hammer that. This is like my smallest hammer, a little ball peen, like maybe it weighs a pound, half a pound. Just you know, slowly tap it through. You can see I got one ugly old taillight socket out already, and the other one is coming out. It will be out soon. Okay, I got the old sockets out, so just punched them right out. I cleaned up the taillight assembly a little. What is the name of this thing? The little teacup, whatever, taillight body. And so now I got the sockets. So what I want to do is I want to put a socket. Now they're slightly flanged at the top, so they kind of spread out a little bit, but not much at the top. So what that means is probably you have to put them in this way and hope they don't slide out, because this is old, right? So that one went right through, right? You see that? So that top flange, that little outer part is not wide. Now, there's a few things, I got some creative things. I could probably, there's many ways I can get this to stay in here so it won't slide out. So I'll figure that out. The other one's a little bit easier. I'm sorry, the other one's a little bit trickier. So that was the running light. The brake light up here, this socket, so there's a plate in here that separates the brake light from the tail light, and it's got this horizontal piece here that if you look, it kind of interferes. It doesn't let you get the socket in there. And I tried going through the top here. So I tried, well, I guess I could try to, so what I'm going to do is, that's not going in. So I'm trying to get a fit back here. And it's just not, I think it's this horizontal. So what I'm going to do is probably, I got a little Dremel tool, like a little Dremel grinder, and I might just grind a little curve, and that will let me get the socket in here. So my next step is to get these two sockets into this taillight body, and then once you do that, you're almost pretty much done with the project. Then you just put the wires through and the bulbs. So let me work on that next. Okay, let me show you what I rigged up here in my bench vise. I put a towel around the taillight piece here to protect it, and not super tight, but I got, got it tight, reasonably tight. What I'm doing is to close this hole up a bit so this socket will fit in without popping all the way through and out. There's a slight edge here, you can see it, and what I did was I have a punch, I have a set of small punches. You find a punch size that matches up to this lip, and you go around and you just lightly try to be even. You go all the way around and just try to close it in a little bit, make the diameter a little bit smaller. And you don't have to whack it hard. Again, just very lightly. It's easy to work with metal in small pieces like this. Just have to be careful. Let me show you an example of what I'm doing here real quick. So So just be patient. I'll have to flip it over. I can only go down to here. Then I got to flip it over to do this side. And then what I do is, while it's in the vise, here's the socket, right? So if we zoom out a bit, and the way I'm testing is I just slide it in here. And actually, I might be, oh no, it's tighter. But I want to get a little more tighter because I don't want this socket to pop out, which I'm pretty close, but I'm going to do a little more hammering, I guess, like metal shaping to get this, and then I think that'll give me a good socket connection, and I'll do the same thing for the other socket as well. Okay, so this worked really well so far for the running light. So what I did was got the same punch size again, right? And I had to, it doesn't, my 5/8 is not quite, it's not quite wide enough diameter, so I just found a washer in my garage. I don't even know what size washer that is. It's bigger than 5/8, right? And I just laid it basically on top of there like that, and then punch it. Can you see there? Just punch it in like that, and the washer distributes the pressure. And again, you don't have to hit it, just you just lightly tap this in. So once I close the hole up, you know, once I close this hole up here, and now I got it, and now it's in, I pressed it in, just slightly pressed it in with that punch, and it's a good enough fit now. Like that's, you know, that'll, like I can put light bulbs in and out. That's not going to pop out. That's really, that is a good fit. So that's the way you want to do it, is if you got the same problem I did trying to like bang out these really old, do I still have them? Look, these these things, you got two little holes in the side. I guess that was an old design maybe. But when you're putting in new taillight sockets, if you have to close up this hole a little bit, just close it up a little bit, because you want some pressure to hold this in. And that's good. So now let me, remember I got to do, I haven't done this. I'm going to try to Dremel this out, and we'll see how much progress I make on that next. So I tried using this little small grinder rotary toolkit. It's not a Dremel, but you know what I mean. There's an access problem with the angle, because this shaft was only so long. I picked, my kit has like a bunch of different grinding stone ends, so I just picked this one. It seemed like the best, but the angle I'm trying to get in here, it's not, can you see in there? It's hard to get down on that metal thing to sand it down. So what I'm going to do is switch over. I got a set of little like hand files. You can buy like a kits of these on Amazon. They're basically like small, different, like this is a round one. This is like a flat one. And I'm just going to go in there and just manually use these to kind of grind or file down that edge so I can get that bulb socket in there. So those, I got both sockets pressed in nicely to the rear taillight piece here. So they came out very well. My lighting is not great right now, but there they are in there. There they are on the other side. They're not moving at all. They're in there tight, so that's good. So really the rest of this project is pretty easy. So you got your green and your blue, and I got to check. I should, I'll take a note. So one of these is for the brake, one of these is for the running lights. So let's, to take one for example, let's start with the brake light up here. So when you buy your wire parts that I showed earlier, what you want to do is this flat part is what's going to be on the other side touching the bulb. So what you're going to do is, let's say we start with the brake light. So the brake light is here. We are going to start with that bullet end, put it in there. Let me get, sorry about the lighting. Okay, put it in there, pull it through, keep going, keep going. So we're going to get that spring in there as well. Alright, and that little plastic piece. And we just push that, alright. So that's in there. And then you just take your bulb. Now it should go in real nice compared to before. Yep. It doesn't turn. Okay. Yep, it's in there good. So it's a good fit. It's a little flexible because there's a spring, but it's not as bad as it was before. And what you'll do is in there you do the black one. And then what you'll do is you still have to connect it to your Model A, right? So I'll mount this back up, put the license plate holder on, and on the bullet end, when you connect to the rest of your wires coming from the front of the car. I suggest getting these bullet connectors, you know, and get the right, you have to get the right, I don't know if these are the right size or not. I haven't tried them yet. But check the diameter in them and, you know, make sure if they're big enough to poke a hole, like, sorry, not a hole, big enough to put in there and squeeze. And then also recommended is heat shrink. So what you'll do is when you connect it to, you want to put the heat shrink on first, so don't make that mistake. So you'll take one of these sleeves, you'll slide it down here, connect both of these, green to green, black to black, and then you'll slide the heat shrink, you'll slide it over the connection, and you can use a heat gun or a hair dryer, or I mean, could probably use a lighter, just don't catch anything, but use a heat source to shrink it, and that'll keep it protected from the elements when you're driving. So that's it, really.